Old Colony. Thank you. We got the recording going. Thank you, Bojang. What I'm going to do, this is a road safety audit for Bedford Street, Route 18, Route 28 at Grove Street in Bridgewater. I'm going to go around really quick for quick introductions. I'm going to start with Shane.
Sure thing. Shane O'Brien, Town of Bridgewater Town Planner.
Thank you. Karen.
Karen Jason, Vice President for Operations at Bridgewater State University.
Thanks. Derek. Derek Jackson. Okay, we're going to move on to, oh, go ahead, Derek. No. Okay. Michelle.
Hi, Michelle Dang from Mass DOT Traffic Safety in Boston.
Jason.
Jason Walters, MassDOT District 5 Projects.
Kevin. Kevin Fitzgerald.
Kevin Fitzgerald, Mass DOT Traffic and Safety out of Boston.
Okay. Joshua Coombs.
Josh Coombs, Mass DOT Traffic Safety Intern.
Rachel.
Rachel McCaffrey, Outreach Coordinator for Massachusetts Safe Routes to School.
Barbara.
Hi, everybody. Barbara LaChance. I'm the District 5 planner.
Bianca.
Hi, Bianca Marshall, District 5 Traffic with MassDOT.
Evelyn Dinsmore.
Hi, Evelyn Densmore. I'm a MassDOT Traffic and Safety Intern.
Kimberly. Kimberly has put her introduction in the chat room. She's the Town of Bridgewater Assistant Town Manager. Welcome, Kimberly. We also have OCPC staff, Bill.
Yep, Bill McNulty, Principal Transportation Planner.
Kyle.
Hi, Kyle Mowat, Senior Transportation Planner.
Bojang.
Charlie, Principal Transportation Planner with OCPC.
And Sean, who is Bedford at Grove's live feed.
Hello, I'm Sean Bailey, Senior Transportation Planner with the Old County Planning Council. And as Ray said, I am providing a live feed with my phone out of the intersection. So if anybody has any questions or would like me to point my phone in any direction, please just let me know.
Thank you, Sean. I want to welcome everyone. If you want to speak, we can use raise hand to speak. And is there anyone that I missed? Did I miss anyone? I don't think I did. Okay.
Yeah, Ray, Derek Jackson. Derek Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
He put his information in the chat as well. He's an intern
okay.
with us at MassDOT.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to start by sharing my screen. We have a presentation, and let's see if I can do this. And okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So this is our agenda. We usually in the past, before we started doing remote, we had 3 parts to the road safety audit. We would review the crash data and the challenges and identify the deficiencies. Then we would move on to the field and and go to the field actually and look at the intersection itself. Then we would come back to the meeting, then identify potential safety improvements. So we still kind of, and then we would have a wrap up in the next step. So we're still going to kind of follow that same pattern, except we're going to have, because it's remote, we have a man in the field. So if we have to look in the field at operations, and they usually take about 2 hours. So I think everybody here is familiar with the way these road safety audits go. This study is funded through our UPWP, through Old Colony Planning Council. Bill McNulty has been the manager. He's taken a little break from it for this one, but he's the one who's been producing these road safety audits through our regular UPWP. And he's done a lot of work in prioritizing the high crash locations. And this is to identify safety improvements and low cost improvements for high crash locations in the region. So what Bill did, what we did, what staff did was contact all the towns to try to prioritize their locations where they thought that they needed road safety audits. So Bridgewater was also included, and they cited this intersection, Bedford Street at Grove Street, as a high crash location. Before I move on, I just wanted to show people our website. We have on our OCPC website an interactive map, story map rather, and it has all of the road safety audits we've done over the past 2 decades, 32 road safety audits. We also include 25 other regional other road safety audits that were completed by consultants. So you can go to our website under road safety audits, and you can click on those, and we have a quick summary for each location, the conclusions, the recommendations, and then a link to the actual report. So we have a lot of them that Bill did in 2022 was still adding to that. And we also have road safety audits that we did 10, 15 years ago there, as well as other consultant road safety audits. So everything we do is we have public access to. Also MassDOT has they also do the same. They have an interactive road safety audit map, except they have the whole state. So we just have the Old Colony region, and many of the road safety audits that they have, we also have too. And so you can just click on the location and it'll bring up a link to the road safety audit. So it's very convenient to get these. Once we do our final report, we'll include this here. And for any of the towns, any other locations, you can go on the map and see if there was a road safety audit done there. So our location is in Bridgewater, and it's this intersection, Grove Street at Bedford Street, which is Route 28 and Route 18 combined. And it's just south of Bridgewater Center. This is an aerial view. You can see it's one way going westerly with 2 lanes. And Route 18 is a 2-lane facility here. Sidewalks on all of the approaches. And there's on the east side, the sidewalk has a buffer there. Another view of the one-way approaching Bedford Street. There's 2 stop signs. The traffic operation is 2 stop signs going in the west direction. Grove Street is a good cut through. You can actually bypass the town center, whether you're going towards Route 24 or actually whether you're going back up to Route 28. Some of the background information on Route 28. It's posted at 30 miles per hour going south. This is based on the speed regulation. There is a speed regulation for this this road. Right just south of the town center, it's going southbound. It's posted at 30 miles per hour. Then This is Grove Street, our intersection, so it's Bedford Street is 30 miles per hour through the intersection. And then it's posted at 35, just south of, I think this is Maple. And then south of Cottage, it's, let me see. The speed limit changes again. Speed limit is 50 miles per hour, all the way into Middleborough. On the northbound side, it's pretty much the same. It's 35 miles per hour, then it's still 30 miles per hour here, but I don't think it's posted in the northbound direction. The state jurisdiction, it's the road is under state jurisdiction and the town center is under local jurisdiction. And the state jurisdiction for Route 18 on Broad Street begins again. But on Route 28, it's local jurisdiction to West Bridgewater town line. Gojang, Gojang wanted to be part of this road safety audit, so I'm going to turn it over to you to go over some of the background data. Are you there, Gojang?
Yes, Ray. Thank you so much. Before we proceed, Ray, could you make Charlie co-host and all other participants as panelists, please? Thank you. So we will discuss some of the background data. As you know, it's all critical information for road safety audit, including the volume, speed, and crash data. I would like to start with the jurisdiction. Bedford Street, also known as Route 28 or Route 18, north to the intersection, it's Route 28, and south of it is Route 18.
Sorry about that. Let me. Go ahead.
Yeah, staff were able to compile the historical traffic data. It's a little bit old data from 2015 to 2018. So the street is located from north to south is Grove, Maple, and Cottage. As you know, the traffic volume, daily volume range from lower 13,000 to higher 14,000. The average, the 85 percentile traffic speed is ranging from 35 to 43. It's a little bit over more than the post speed limit. The Grove Street, it's under the town of Bridgewater. It is a minor arterial. It's going westbound one way. If you know that area, it's going westbound at the intersection. The daily traffic volume is a little bit lower than 2,000. 85 percentile speed is 26 miles. I apologize, I forgot to mention about the Bedford Street. It's urban principal arterial road. Next, please. OCPC conducted a comprehensive Route 18 corridor study back in 2009. From our analysis, the intersection at the minor approach, it projected to be level service D at the AM peak hour, and the PM peak hour, it's level service F. As you know, the level service is indication of the intersection capacity. Also, it indicates the delay and queue at that approach. The intersection was also met the traffic signal warrant. At that time, MUTCD set up signal warrant, including 8-hour, 4-hour, and peak hour standard, whether they are warranted for traffic signal. At that point, the study recommend increasing the community like gateway information for travelers, so they will know slowing down the speed as they approach a more dense area and center square. We also recommended installing flash warning beacon as part of the post limit, so to increase the visibility and awareness of traffic speed changes. We also suggested enhanced traffic enforcement following the traffic speed. Next, please. This is a traffic diagram we created in-house. Sean developed this crash diagram. As you know, as we noted that 70% of crashes are actually angle collision. It's very typical for stop controlled intersection. It's a three-way stop control, north and southbound. It's no regulation. It's surprising to see that the severity of the crash injury, according to the police report, which is really high. As you can see, there are 3 pedestrian-related crashes on the south leg of the intersection. We may have noted that at this intersection, there is a crosswalk on the east side and the south side of the intersection. Next, please. We create a statistic bar chart for better understanding the crash pattern. Looks like the crashes occur on any of the day, but the Tuesday and Friday seem to be highest. The month of the crash, there was no crashes during January, which you know it's a winter, probably more snowy days, but there was not an accident occur during 5 years period. February and September seem to be highest in terms of crash frequency. Next, please. The time of day for the crashes, the midday and late afternoon seem to be highest. We assume there might be a lot of noon activity, maybe restaurant or school in the adjacent area. And the PM commuter hours seem to be a problem. It is highest in terms of crash frequency to 32% in five-year period. We kind of look at the crash diagram. We mentioned the angle crash is still the highest, the most dangerous maneuver at the intersection. Next, please. Over 78% crashes occur at the daylight, and another 19, it's the dark or lighted roadway. Again, the weather condition for 70% of crashes occur in the clear weather. There's no adverse weather condition contribute to the crashes. Rainy day and cloudy day in combination is about 30% for those crashes. Next, please. The crash driver age, we can tell the bell curve from the bell curve. Looks like there is a concentration at the younger age group. It's a little bit skewed to the younger age group. It's not evenly distributed. So we can certainly discuss about younger driver. In the adjacent area, we have Bridgewater State University and other institutions in the area. The crash road surface, most of them occur in the drive condition. Another 20% crashes were related to the wet surface condition. Next, please. Staff were able to compile and provide the crash summary in the package. And if you have any questions, we can always discuss the table. Next.
Thank you. Thank you, Bojang. So we're at the part of the road safety audit where we identify the issues. We talk about the deficiencies, we document them, and then we'll move on to recommend potential improvements. Does anyone want to start? Raise your hand or just chime in.
But Ray, if I may, one thing I've noticed since I've been here is the crosswalk that's right in front of me at the south part of the intersection. The crosswalk is not lined up with the ADA curb ramps. I don't know if the town has plans to restripe that at any point, but that's something that that might want to be corrected at some point.
Yeah, that's a good point. The crosswalk doesn't line up with the ramps across Bedford Street. There were 3 crosswalks at the intersection. The one on, there's actually one on Grove Street on the eastbound approach, but on the westbound receiving, there used to be a crosswalk there, but I think they might have paved it. Or
Oh, it's still there, right?
No, it's still there. Okay. Or is it? Okay, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm facing north right now, so there's
3
crosswalks on both Grove Street approaches, and then on the south portion of the intersection, there's a crosswalk.
Right, and there's none across the north leg of Bedford
Correct.
Street, right? But that needs to be lined up.
Yeah, we do. We actually have documented that. By the way, this is Azure Tonero, the DPW director. We have noted that, and that is something that we're going to be restriping. But the are we in terms discussion of possible improvements or mitigations or what have you to the to that intersection, or?
Yeah, we can discuss those, sure.
Ray, Shane and Karen have their hands raised. Could you facilitate?
Sure. I don't want to take too much of Azuz's thunder, but I'm sure he'll have some comments soon. I think just walking out the site, I think what you can notice is just, and the traffic coming southbound, they don't, I would say that they have a tendency of not seeing that first speed limit sign. So you see the southbound traffic coming from Central Square, whereas visibly you're trying to make sure that there's no one coming from your left turning onto Bedford Street, where you're not looking at that speed limit sign. So you see that straight shot, and I've seen cars easily go before they hit Grove Street 35, 40, in which I think is representative of the speed happening at this intersection and a good representation of the high percentage of injuries that do occur just based on speed. You know, I could see that a lot of people are probably going 35, 40 when they're hitting each other.
Yeah, thank you, Shane. Karen?
Just a couple thoughts. I think short term, and I'm happy to pay for it, is that we need to put all four locations dangerous intersection signs up if we clearly know it's dangerous. But I also think looking at the demographic, the age demographic, clearly a lot of these are college students, I would guess. We may not have that data, but it's a very unusual condition the way Grove Street transitions from two-way traffic at Cedar Street, which is less than a city block away from Bedford, to this one-way traffic. And it's kind of funky. I've been doing it for 23 years. It's still funky. And I'm wondering if these inexperienced drivers are sort of not appreciating that change.
Chief Del Monte?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, and I appreciate the comments that have been offered so far. So anecdotally, what we've discovered, and again, I appreciate the data that's been provided. It is quite helpful. I think that, you know, age and experience is, you know, is always a factor. The problem with this intersection, though, is that the view that you have on the screen right now is the problem. So as you are on Grove Street, you're headed westerly, you approach that stop sign. Oftentimes, particularly in the height of when you have assigned the peak traffic, you will have a backup on Bedford Street that almost reaches Grove Street. that is going into Central Square. That used to be a yield sign, is now a stop sign. So that backup, that backup has not decreased at all. As a consequence, the vehicles that are in with this view that you have on the screen and are looking to cross over or even take a left on Bedford Street, the traffic that has backed up on Bedford Street blinds people to the vehicles that are now coming out of Central Square and heading southerly. That's the problem. Those vehicles cannot be seen, and these crashes that we have gone to there, this is probably the worst intersection we have right now. It used to be Broad and High Street, now it's this one. The accident frequency, I don't know whether it's the highest as far as number of accidents, but severity, it definitely will be. And as you know, we've had fatal accidents here, but even the crashes that we go to, we get a call for Bedford and Grove Street, it's almost always this very significant collision. My recommendation, and we have mentioned this a few times, and I welcome the input of the other panelists, but we've mentioned this for quite some time. And that recommendation is that you need to change the direction of travel on Grove Street. The Grove Street intersection from Cedar Street to Bedford Street cannot go westerly. It must travel easterly because it's the only way you will prevent cars who cannot see the southerly traffic because the backup that occurs on the northbound side of Bedford Street from crossing there. That's the short term. You know, and for those of you, I know I see a lot of friends on the call here who know what I'm talking about. We've had this frustration as a community for quite some time. That's the fix to this intersection. And my hope is that at some point we'll get some traction. Until then, we're going to continue to have some severe accidents here. We have tried other mitigation efforts, as you know. One of those was to put a mirror on there might even be two up there, on the telephone pole, which is on the corner of the westerly side of Grove Street. And it's ineffective. It's impossible. And as you talk about, some cars that come out of Central Square headed southerly on Bedford Street pick up speed quickly. You know, Central Square is a congested area, and as soon as you get a little opening, the vehicles tend to speed up naturally. And especially people from the area who realize that you only have to travel about a half mile to get to a 50-mile-an-hour zone. And I think that encourages a little bit of speed there as well. But the fundamental problem is the line of sight. That's the problem. And I think the general consensus is, and I welcome other opinions, is we need to reverse the direction of travel. It needs to remain one way, but from Bedford and Grove to Cedar Street on Grove Street needs to head easterly, not westerly. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Azu?
Thank you. I think the chief very much captures my sentiment, if you will. If you look at the accident data that you presented, a lot of the accident is the people traveling west from the easterly side of Grove Street, trying to either cross Bedford Street onto west side of Grove Street. The people making a right turn very seldom. I don't think you have too many crashes with that. The other crash is people negotiating a left turn to travel south on Bedford Street. And that you have a conflicting movement there. As a matter of fact, we have two potential conflicting movements. The person negotiating left to travel south from the easterly side of Grove Street has that potential of crashing with somebody traveling north on Bedford Street, as well as also somebody traveling south on Bedford Street as that person turning left to go south on Bedford Street is trying to get themselves in. And I remember very vividly witnessing a crash that involved somebody turning left to go south and a car traveling north on Bedford Street, as well as a car traveling, all three coming into collision at the same time. So I'm sure the university might not necessarily take it very well, But I think if safety of the public is paramount, and it should be, I would have echoed the chief's sentiment, and I think making that westerly end of Grove Street, making that one way only, traveling east, so that you don't have any vehicle traveling west on Grove Street towards that intersection. I think that'll cut your accident by more than 50%. Because if you don't have that if you don't have that turning movement, and sometimes somebody traveling west from the east on Grove Street, they gain some impatience. They're trying to cut through and then zip right across. And I was one of the fortunate ones that didn't get clipped. So, it clearly does make a good sense. And vehicles exiting the college complex have multi ways to get out of the campus without having to travel west on Grove Street.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Does anyone else have any?
I just have sort of a follow-up to that because I'm no transportation expert. So if you were to, Azu, I don't think we would, who are we to complain? We want to make it safer. But if it was to become an easterly only direction, would you close off the other lane so that you can't have two lanes for less than a city block going one way and then transitioning to two? I'm looking to professionals.
Yeah. Yes, I would say that, yes. And absolutely. Increase your green space for you.
Yeah, that would give you room for bicycles and.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Yeah. The other thing that I noticed when we were out there watching the traffic, that when you pull up, you're going west on Grove Street and you pull up to the intersection, there's two lanes. So if you're going left, you go in the left lane, you're going straight through, or right, you go into the right lane. There's limited sight distance looking south at traffic coming northbound. So vehicles tend to encroach out into the intersection, almost into the travel lane, where cars, then what happens if there's two cars that pull up at the same time, one going through, one going left, the car that's going through is limited because that vehicle in the other lane limits its sight distance looking south. But I can envision, I know that Central Square, I've been around enough to know that Central Square backs up through that intersection. I can envision a line of cars going northbound and then someone tries to be nice and just lets enough space through, not block the intersection, and someone either going through or left, just jumping out there and not realizing the southbound traffic is coming. I mean, you can just envision it, so it's definitely, you can see the way that intersection operates. Michelle?
Yes. So I just want to echo on the changing direction of Grove Street. We actually, the issue and the concern and the recommendation was actually documented in the last RSA, which was conducted in 2019. That recommendation is well documented, looking at changing it to eastbound one way. So and I wanted to also just quickly point out that I think Karen, you just mentioned it, to have a danger intersection sign. That sign actually is not MUTCD approved it. So by the guidebook, you could not use a sign like this. I know some municipality use it on the local road, but this one, since it has the state jurisdiction, so we may not be able to use it. Instead, I would recommend using something more than a sign to improve the safety of this intersection. So with that said, I think a lot of us here went to the last RSA back in 2019. Looking at the crash data, you can see the crash is not going, there's no improvement here with crash history. We even have 2 more pedestrian crash. So I think overall improving all road users activity, safety. It's very important. I just want to double check and ask why is there was there anything was done after the RSA last time? Do you guys know? Or we're looking at the same location, which is basically the same setup?
I thought the RSA was done in 2014, or am I remembering?
It was actually done in 2000, the end of 2019, and we got it finished in February 2020,
Okay.
which we also included the town center, the Central Square,
Okay.
and then we
Alright.
extended a little bit more south, included this lit intersection. So the data is a little bit outdated, not really outdated. It was 16 to 18 data back then. But you still can see the same crash trend.
Right. Right.
Same horrible injury severity, to be honest. And so I just want to double check and see if the town have done anything after that RSA that we didn't know of or anything, because I know, because the side street is it's town jurisdiction. I just don't know. And I also want to know that, you know, if for changing direction of Grove Street, maybe Jason, you can correct me. Do we have to get involved if we're not doing other improvement at this intersection, but the town just want to change direction of the side street, which is town owned? Do we have to get involved in that? Because to be honest, this would be the most low cost improvement we could do quickly if we can.
Yeah, no, I agree. This was documented in that 2019 RSA. I'm looking at it now. But as far as you know, where does the DOT get involved? You know, it's outside of our layout. I mean, that portion of Grove Street is not state jurisdiction. But to what extent do we need to get involved? It's probably to the layout line. You know, it's probably, you know, where the state layout begins and ends. But beyond that, you know, in terms of the whole roading network, I'm not sure. I don't have any other extra history, you know, since as far as what's happened since 2019 here. I don't know if anybody else on the call does, but it seems like you know, it was Ray, it was myself, Azu, you were there as well at that RSA in 2019. So a number of us were there, and a lot of these same recommendations are documented in that RSA document. So yeah, you know, as far as our you know, responsibility for Grove Street, it's probably just to the state highway layout line that's on Bedford.
Thank you. Azu?
Yes, Ray, thank you again. I'd like what the state is saying about it's outside the layout, but I think my ears are hearing a far distance call that says the state can chip in some money because it'll be improving the condition of accidents on a state road too. So while it might be any work on Grove Street might be outside the layout of state-owned way, but if in fact improving the conditions of Grove Street would improve the accident numbers by reducing the rate of a number of accidents, and then that public safety benefit in improving accident data, or rather by reducing the accidents that also occur in the state layout by virtue of the intersection. I think the town will with a wider open hands and ears welcome some financial muscle from the state to make that whatever improvement that we're going to make.
I agree. Ray, this is still this is high crash. This is a high crash intersection, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean I agree with that, Azu. That you know that even on non-state owned roads, because of the nature of the high crash location, yeah, it could be eligible for some state funding. I agree with that.
And it still is a top 200 for the state. Does the MPO have any plans on putting into the tip?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question again. Could you repeat?
Does OCPC is planning on putting this onto the tip?
So Michelle, as far as I know, a project hasn't been initiated by the municipality nor MassDOT for this project. And the MPO does not initiate project. It has to either be MassDOT or the community. But should we see a project in MAPIC come through and that there's an active design, we would certainly entertain programming this location. I would suspect that any alteration to Grove Street would be Chapter 90 eligible.
Chief Del Monte.
So thank you. Just a couple of questions, please. So the first is, and I think, Michelle, you may have mentioned this, it seems to me this is going to be relatively short money and it's easy for me, right? I'm not the person that's doing the work on it, but a relatively short and easy, simple fix. Am I right on this rearrangement of road direction of travel?
It depends on how much you want to get it fixed, because there's short term and long term. It depends on how much stuff you want to include into a specific project. I think I should put it like that. In this RSA, just like our last RSA, stuff has been listed as short term and long term. Changing direction is actually listed as a longer term project on the last RSA, because we were also considering back then in 2019, we were also recommending changing your other side street and improving the whole networking on the whole neighborhood. So that was considered as a longer term project. I just want to make sure if the town have actually put into action on any of projects or initiative on this road right after our last RSA. So we can have like a better understanding on if we can actually move things forward, or looking at opportunities, how we can move things forward.
So I guess my point would be, and my request of wherever, whoever can make this possible, this intersection remains today, as you obviously have your live feed. And so this intersection is substantially the same. This has had very little change or modification. And so that risk still remains today. So my request and sincere hope is that, we're able to make this relatively, again, oversimplified fix, and we can do it on a relatively short basis. And part of the reason for my request is, as you know, we're into July now, and very shortly you saw your crash rates increase dramatically in both September and February. And, anecdotally, we probably suggest that's got to do with newer drivers to the community, some related to the university, some not. It would be good to have this in place prior to that September timeframe in order to not only prepare, but we would establish better enforcement, education, so people realize this has changed ahead of time, to give a little bit of notice, as opposed to the other way around, where we wait until we're in mid-semester and then we decide we're going to change that. And so my hope is we might be able to pull this off a little bit earlier, assuming, I assume Azu and the town manager agree and we have the resources to do it. It is somewhat of a timely issue, given that it's, July 14th that we happen to be talking about it. My second question, I guess, to you and Michelle and Jason is, and this is really just a point of education for myself. I noticed you mentioned the state control of the road, yet the state doesn't plow that section of roadway. So I'm just interested to hear from you, if you can help clarify for me. The state authority on the road. I recognize it's a state highway and Route 18, but there are sections that are clearly maintained by the town. So I was just curious to know that even those sections that are not maintained by MassDOT, you still want certain road safety issues of signage and things like that being approved by MassDOT before they take place.
Jason, do you want to answer that?
Sure, sure.
At district level?
I mean, as far as the maintenance, I mean, I'm not in the maintenance section, but you know, when we make the recommendations for safety, you know, from these meetings, they're more sort of holistic in general, and it, you know, the actual jurisdiction doesn't matter in terms of like the recommendations that we'll make as far as you know, the signage or what have you. And so, you know, like this RSA, this format is just to, you know, identify the problems and potential solutions. And then it's, you know, then it sort of follows down the process to, you know, project initiation and creation and so on. So, I mean, if you have any specific maintenance concerns for the state highway, we can talk after the fact, and I can contact we can contact D5 maintenance.
No, I'm not in that regard. We're just trying to calculate when we're figuring out our safety issues that come up that do involve other state roads, whether it's 104 as well, or 28. You know, where the state fits in. That's fine. I appreciate your help on that, and I'll let you guys get back on track for the right reason that we're here. Thank you.
No problem.
I need to jump off for 2 o'clock. Chris, I totally agree with you. If we can make these changes before September and get the word out even through our Parking and Connect card office to our new students. Somebody, a zoo, I don't know. I mean, we're happy to help with any short-term expenses, but it seems like it's a simple sort of put some Jersey barriers up, repaint, take down stop signs, install one-way signs, put up, you know, for the start of the semester that, you know, the sign you guys have that sends them to the parking garage or whatever. I don't know what you call that sign.
The flashing one?
Sorry?
Some of the flashing light?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, maybe I'm being too simplistic. I don't know. I'm thinking about what we did down at the end of Burl Ave.
All right, we'll circle back within the next week.
Well, I do one.
Karen. Oh, she's gone?
Oh, she's still here.
What's up?
No, Karen, I was just gonna say be careful jumping. Don't jump too far down though. You sure you gotta jump off the meeting? That was a joke. I guess
Just a few inches. Just a few inches.
They took it too serious. You said it was too straight.
One thing to mention, like Michelle said, that it isn't as simple as just, you know, reversing the direction of Grove Street. There's the entire network and the adjacent intersections that you've got to take into consideration. And I think that had something to do with why doing that was labeled as as high cost. You know, I think we should probably recirculate the 2019 RSA to the attendees of this meeting. And then if there were any, you know, new concerns that are identified outside of what was shown there in that 2019 RSA, because I think it's pretty well documented, but it seems it's obvious that the town has a lot of concerns and is very worried about this intersection. So I think if there's something new to sort of report, the accident crash data looks similar to what it did in 2019, but if there's something new to identify, or I think that's something that we should take note of since we've all met here today.
Charlie has his hand up.
Sure, go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, thank you. So one of the things we like to think about when we're discussing and debating and identifying countermeasures is other examples where treatments have been implemented that have made a change. And I can think of a location, it's a couple towns over, but for those of you who travel in Sagamore and in the town of Bourne, just underneath the Sagamore Bridge to the east, Adams Street, where it intersected Route 6A. That used to be a very high crash location right by the ball field. And what the town did was work with MassDOT, and they converted Adams Street to one-way away from 6A, and they alleviated the crash problem upon its implementation. So I think that's a nice example and a very consistent benchmark peer example of something that the chief had recommended here about changing the direction of flow. And it
Thanks.
alleviated the problem once it was implemented. So.
Right. Thank you, Charlie. I just want to say that the road safety audit that was done in 2019 should be available on our website under RSA, and also Mass DOT's should probably have it too on their website, RSA website. But I will.
Bill, Bill
I
put
will
that in the
circulate
chat. Am I
that.
right, Bill?
Oh, thank you, Bill.
Yep, it's in the chat.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, are there any other comments on issues? I did notice that pavement is actually there's some potholes and some filling. It's actually poor to fair at the intersection. And drainage is, I think drainage is pretty good. We saw three on three of the corners. There's drainage available, and there's also a light. There is a light pole out there. I think most of the crashes happen during the daytime. Any other issues that we should talk about? Go ahead, Captain McDermott.
I'm the better looking one. If you look at the intersection itself, if we could bring that picture up.
Yep. I'll go back to that.
The state highway, the crosswalk seems to be southerly of the intersection by a lot further than the other two crosswalks doing the north and south across Grove Street.
Yep.
And right there, so where that blue car you just passed, back one pick.
Back one.
So do you see where the crosswalk is, where that blue car is parked on right now?
Yep.
That being far back, that having both lanes running, I don't know if you change the direction of the traffic, if it will adversely affect the other side in the same way. But there is a blind spot because of the location of the telephone poles. There is a telephone pole on the other side. A person on the easterly side walking to the westerly side in that crosswalk is not seen by the traffic taking a left. I don't know if that same thing will happen on the other side of the road if we bring traffic coming the other way. But the difficulty is that might be why you have 3 pedestrians hit in that same location for that reason.
Yeah.
Again, if we're going to address the problem, we might want to check it and make sure that that problem doesn't exist if we change the flow of traffic coming the other way. And if we leave it this way, we might want to look at changing it to update it to bring the crosswalk closer to the intersection for a better vision of the drivers.
Okay.
It looks like the crosswalk has been brought it up a little because right now the crosswalk is not even aligned with the ADA curb.
Right.
It's actually not a good crosswalk because the curb with
Curb cuts.
the curb cuts with the wheelchair detected panel, the ADA panel, it's not aligned with the crosswalk. It should directly align with the crosswalk. You can see it from the live feed. So I think that
they allow me to do a lot of things in town, but they don't allow me to paint.
Well, I think that before we took over the striping, that was painted by the state. I think that's a state job.
I don't know why. That's why that's something really good to see, and we can coordinate with our maintenance to see what we can fix. And alongside with that, I think on the last RSA we did recommend it to put in do not block the box pavement marking on at the intersection because the visibility issue blocking, because north southbound blocking the visibility coming out from the side street. So that if that we can get that done, that should be helpful.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Chief McDermott. I'm sorry about that. There are a lot of pedestrians out there. I was out there in the middle of the day, and actually, if I was looking at the live feed from Sean, and you can see a lot of pedestrians walking because the east side of Bedford Street has a nice buffer, and I think people like to walk along there. So there are a lot of pedestrians, I think, that go through this intersection, that walk along Bedford Street and like to cross the street also, and go across the street. So I think it's important that we get it right for pedestrians in that crosswalk. So, anyone else on any of they'd like to add? Okay, so I'm gonna go to the end of this. Where am I here? No, I'm gonna go back here. Okay, so we looked at the deficiencies and we actually talked about potential improvements. Are there anything else besides making it one way we could think about to improve it? There's bicycle safety, pedestrian safety, any other improvements, like pavement markings are obviously faded, signage to be updated by MUTCD standards, as Michelle had mentioned. Overhead beacons, does anybody have any desire or thoughts about wanting beacons, or just to indicate that here's an intersection right here? But it's just something that I thought about. But does anyone else have any ideas about low cost or even long-term improvements? There was a signal warrant done when we did the Route 18 study, and it passed. It satisfied warrant 1 and warrant 3, but that was way back in 2009. So I think if the state or the town wants to think about signals, I think the potential is there. But that might be something that you could think about. Or
I think the biggest thing is that there isn't really a visual cue of this intersection. There's that signage early on in the square that shows an intersection, but people are typically flying up and down this road or crossing at a very high speed, and there's nothing. You have the pedestrian crossing coming heading northbound, but going southbound, there really isn't that indication of that pedestrian cross on that side. So maybe having a pedestrian cross when you have people traveling southbound onto Bedford, just to kind of warrant that slowdown, rather than that, at this point when someone's driving, speeding up. They're coming from the square going 20, and then they see there a nice visual corridor of nothing but open road, heading down to the Rotary, and they're like, all right, if I'm trying to get to the Cape at a certain time or heading down to Friendly's at the Middleborough Rotary, I might be going 40, 45 just to kind of speed down that way.
Would a speed table be out of question in something like this, coming in or going out of the community?
I don't see why you couldn't do that.
Well, we have to look at the drainage, how that speed table might affect drainage on the streets.
Yeah, and the classification of the road may prohibit the speed table. I'm not sure what the classification of this road is, but one of the things we mentioned last time was providing curb bump outs for the crossing. It would create a shorter crossing distance for pedestrians, but then it also alerts drivers. It gives it a different feel of an intersection. It kind of speak to Shane's point a little.
Yeah, it's an arterial, I believe. The other thing was that the beacons, the overhead flashing beacons, I think are pretty good to indicate that there's an intersection here to address what Shane had said about there's no visual cues. That might help with the visual cueing if you put a overhead beacon or some other warning sign that there's an intersection up ahead or pedestrians crossing. That might help with that with that problem there.
Also, another option would be looking into an RFB for the pedestrian crossing, just so that it stands out more, especially since with this round, it looks like there were 3 crashes that involved pedestrians.
Right, right. What I saw in New Hampshire on Route 101A, which is a major, it's a major arterial, it's more rural, but there are some, it goes through some urban areas, and they actually have a roundabout. And I mean, the speed limit at some points is 55 miles per hour, and they actually have a roundabout. What they did was, and it was coming down a hill, they actually put rumble strips across the road to warn motorists that there's a, you have to slow down. They've got them at 3 separate intervals, and they get closer together. The closer you get to the roundabout, it slows traffic down toward the roundabout. And it works very effectively, especially going eastbound, coming the other way, that you're coming from the urban area where there's a traffic signal. So it's not, the vehicles aren't going so fast, but in the opposite way, when they're coming into the roundabout, people have 55 miles per hour and they're going downhill, and these rumble strips work really well to notify motorists to slow down. But that's just a thought.
With all the drivers distractions that are out there today, even the flashing yellow lights, there's so many signs, there's so many advertisements, telephones, textings, radios.
Yeah.
Mine's somewhere else, paying attention to something else. The rumble strips or speed table would probably be something, for lack of a better term, it's going to give you a feeling of, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
Is there a problem with my car? Is there a problem with the road? And once they get used to it, it will start to acknowledge. But for the people who aren't from this area, that would probably be the fastest thing to slow them down, other than a police cruiser.
One concern with those rumble strips are they are quite loud, and it looked to be a decent amount of houses nearby here who will probably not enjoy those.
Yeah, that's true.
Could I ask, and again, I don't mean to keep harping on it, what is the simplest methodology to correct this issue? Does this need to be initiated by the town? Is this something, I think, I'm not sure if Michael Dutton or Kim Williams is on the call, or they would want to weigh in with the zoo. I think I've been a part of other studies on different intersections, and if there's some agreement on it and we can agree that this is a dangerous intersection, even anecdotally, even without the data, we could make an assessment. What is the next part of this process, other than putting it in a study and a recommendation? Like, it's going to go on a shelf. So what needs to happen here to make this? Is this something the town, we can simply do on our own? If we all agree and the town council votes for this, then, and we have some funds available to make the painting changes and sign changes. Is that what this is? Is that what this comes down to?
That's a good question. That's an excellent question. The owners, and that's the state and the town, have to take action. So they have
I would
to
agree. As far as the town is concerned, I think we can put it in the front burner. I think we'll reach out to the state and see where they were, how much participation, if any, they would entertain. I also heard Karen, before she left the meeting, say that the university will be amenable to providing whatever resources that they may have available towards. So I think with all the parties in agreement, I think this is a project that we can initiate fairly quickly and get it done.
And from the, say, from the state and I need Jason and Bianca and Barbara help me with the district side. For this location, the fastest change would be definitely coming from the town instead of coming from the state. If you want to do short-term improvement. And that goes back to what I was talking about on how much stuff you want it to be included. After this meeting, we definitely will circle around. I will ask my office and see what we can do with the top 200 high crash location. It is a top 200, which is it's really concerning, and we understand this. But trying to get something done from our end, it would be easier for us to do it on the maintenance side. We would definitely look into what we could incorporate into our maintenance activity and hopefully to get some small change in place right away. With that said, we have to circle back to the previous RSA and including this RSA as well, with the recommendation that we have recommended. But if we are talking to a bigger project, that would take a lot longer because the town would have to initiate the project and get the town buy-in, get your consultant, get an idea on what do you want for this intersection.
So I think I got the
and
answer. I
then
see.
you will-
Go ahead, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then you would coordinate with yeah, send in your project initiation. Is that's the step, right? Jason, you need to help me out.
Yeah, no, I agree. So the longer term project, exactly like Michelle's saying, is with getting this project funded and on the tip and going through the normal sort of project creation. But in terms of the fastest thing we can do now is these short-term, probably low-cost recommendations that we can make now, and the ones that we've made in 2019, especially those ones that are within town jurisdiction. And I believe Bianca, you could probably speak to this, that there's even some short-term changes that we'll make for the state highway that we can do, like Michelle said, out of our sort of maintenance funds. But the thing that's ultimately going to solve this problem was likely a larger project, and for that you've got to go through the normal project initiation path that the towns are used to.
So the short-term improvements that we can work on would be looking at the signs, evaluating what's there, what would be needed. There was mention about like the speed limits, making sure that all the speed limit signs are up and visible, maybe updating the pavement markings. Like those are kind of like the quick shot improvements that we can do.
Got it. Yep.
So thank you very much. And I appreciate the state's support on that and OCPCs as well. I know the assistant town manager has organized something on the town side. So we'll look forward to that. And thank you for your support in helping us fix this. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any? Go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, I was going to say to Michelle's point, Walter, point about larger term capital projects. The town has been successful in the past developing and implementing Bedford and Winter Street signalization project in the past, and also, as the chief mentioned more recently, the Broad Street to High Street signalization project. Both of those came through the Old Colony MPO's Transportation Improvement Program for the construction funding. So, town has a great track record of implementing capital projects over the years and working with the MPO and MassDOT. So just wanted to recognize both the town and MassDOT.
Thanks, Charlie. Any other final words? I just want to go over the next steps. We're going to have a draft report within 2 weeks from today. Bojang and I will put together a draft report and we'll send it to all the stakeholders. for comment and any revisions. We're going to release a final report, and that'll be on the OCPC website. And then, of course, the initiation for improvements from the town will take place after that. Does anyone have any other last comments or questions? I don't really see any. There's something in the chat. Someone have to say something there. Oh, Bridgewater team members. Reach out to partners. We're eager to get a solution. Okay, from Kimberly. Thank you, Kimberly. I want to thank our partners at MassDOT and everyone from the police and the fire and planning from the town and everyone else from the town. I think we made some. I think we're going to make some good progress on this intersection. So thank you all for being here and putting your time into this.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Have a good day,
You
sir.
as well. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.